Today I'm sharing a pink lemon meringue pie made with pink lemons from the Eureka tree. Yay! This is an amazingly tasty pie that I make for my partner's birthday that is smooth, sweet, bright, with a slight tartness. This is the perfect alternative for anybody who does not love a birthday cake. Who's that? Hello you, it's me, Rox of Rockstar Bakes. If you are new to my channel, my passion is helping you make sweet treats, because adults need magic too. I happened to record and purchase these lemons at the height of citrus season because it was my partner's birthday and his birthday is at the height of citrus season. And let's get into it. Here are 4 types of lemons, 2 of each. Disregard any size differences. We know variation just happens. And I'll do an unboxing of the 2 Eureka lemons at the end of the video. To get more from your lemon and make it easier to squeeze, roll it around before juicing. The citrus oil releases as you roll the lemon, so it makes it a little slippery. A paper towel will prevent slipping. The goal here is to make the lemon as juicy as possible. Smells so zesty. These are the pink lemons. They have variegated yellow and green striped skin. When the green fades, you know the fruit is ripe. And blush pink flesh as they continue to ripen, thanks to lycopene, the antioxidant that gives grapefruit their ruby hue. How pretty. Again, I just want to make a note that these are lemons, not mini grapefruits. Here are 4 types of lemons in slices close up. And now here's another lemon that I got from Trader Joe's. This one is definitely ripe and pink. Honestly, the Trader Joe's lemons were better than the pink organic lemons that I ordered from this farm in California. I was not really disappointed in the size. They just seemed so dry and less juicy. So I'm gonna give you the pink ones. They're pretty obvious. Did you have a guess at the other 3 lemons? If you guessed this one was Meyer lemon, you're right. Good job. This one makes the lemon meringue pie that seems extra creamy to me. So now we're down to these 2 lemons. Which is which? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Eureka and the regular. Excellent, definitely going to use the pink lemons, but just wanted to share more information with you. Making lemon curd is so easy. All it takes is about 5 ingredients and about half an hour. Here's how to make the lemon curd filling. Juice the lemons. These pink lemon little guys taste fruity and floral. They even have a floral scent. You might be wondering, what's the deal with the color of the lemon and the color of the tart? The catch is that the juice runs clear, not pink. Don't worry, we're going to get this to the inspired color in a bit. Make sure to remove any seeds possible. Obviously, I haven't yet in this jar. Set aside. If you can't believe you've lived your entire life believing these pink lemons were not a thing, I feel you. Pink lemons were first discovered as a mutant on the Eureka tree in a backyard around the 1930s. Back to the curd. As always, you'll find the ingredient details in the description below. I separate the egg whites from the large eggs. But make sure of the dozen eggs, 2 are still whole eggs. The yellower the egg yolks, the deeper and brighter the color of the curd. These eggs are from the local Asian store and happen to have a deep yellow-orange yolk. Make sure to put aside 6 egg whites for the meringue you'll use to top and decorate the pie later. Tightly wrap it so it doesn't form a skin and dry up later. You could save the remaining egg whites for a healthy omelet. Yeah, that's what I do. Combine the sugar with the eggs in a heat-proof bowl. This is so important because we're about to put it over boiling water. I like to pre-mix these with sturdy whisk before cooking to make it easier. Place the egg sugar mixture over a medium pot of simmering water. It's about an inch of water. Add a splash of citrus and mix, mix, mix. Mix, mix. I'm trying out this induction stove that I purchased last year to make demonstrations a little easier. Because of this, I couldn't use my favorite pot with pourers on the side because it's not induction compatible. If you have one of those, they're so nice because they seem to help avoid quick cooking. I meant quick overcooking. And now you can see why we needed a heat-proof bowl. Now is when I add some pink food color paste to achieve a pink tint to the lemon curd. At this point, I'm kind of under a deadline, so it's my one chance to do this one of two curds. I figured this would turn an orangey or grapefruit color because red and yellow make orange. Still, I went with pink. I'm really happy with what I'm seeing because I'm getting to that ripe Trader Joe's pink lemon color. I also figured that the color would deepen with the heat and I could always add more towards the end. Then gradually incorporate the rest of the citrus while stirring constantly. Tip on time, keep on mixing while the bowl is over the simmering water. It may feel like it's taking forever to thicken and maybe not coming together, but that's not the case. It totally is. The mixture will become foamy while remaining watery. As the foam dissipates, it's easier to see the color. I had no clue how this would turn out color-wise since this was my first time to color the curd because 1, I was on a birthday deadline, and 2, I ordered the lemons and therefore had a fixed quantity. Not my first rodeo coloring curd, but definitely my first time attempting pink. Here's my colored green key lime meringue birthday pie. Lime curd is always yellow as well. I have a blog post if you want to learn more about lime curd. Add a pinch of salt. The foam will dissipate slowly as the curd thickens over the heat. That's a good sign. Tip for creamy, no-curdle curd. Try to keep the bottom of the bowl from touching the simmering water. That will help the mixture cook more evenly throughout without scrambling the eggs at the bottom of the bowl. Cook for 10 to 12 minutes or until the foam completely dissipates. Remove from the double boiler and set aside for a second while placing cold butter cubes in bowl. For the tastiest results, use a high-fat European-style unsalted butter. I try to work fairly quickly since I want my mix to pour warm. Ever wonder what curd is? Wikipedia states that fruit curd is a preserve with a thick consistency made out of citrus, sugar, eggs, and butter. Back to the curd making. Sieve the mixture to get any curdles or remaining seeds out. The cold butter will stop the cooking process. For demonstration purposes, the pouring bowl is kind of at an awkward angle, so I tackle this in 2 to 3 distributions. Remember to scrape off the bottom of the sieve too. Don't waste any curd. Keep mixing and this will thicken. The mixing process will take 3 to 5 minutes. The color of your curd will depend on the color of your egg yolks. I've had pale curd to deep yellow-orange curd. By the way, curd is not only perfect for tarts and pies, it's also perfect for yogurt, cake filling, French macarons, cookies, cupcake filling, Pop-Tarts, buttercream frosting, and so much more. Actually, talking about buttercream, I have a Swiss meringue buttercream recipe that highlights the amount of curd that you will need to make a lemon curd buttercream. I will link that in the eye, in the corner, one of these corners, the recipe. I wanted a little more color, so I did add more around here. When you add in this phase, the color creates little dots in the curd. Here it doesn't seem unnatural, but I imagine the same effect would be really weird in lime curd. If you want a dairy-free version of this recipe, I really like the avocado oil country crock sticks. I've had my partner try this many times and he could never tell that it was dairy-free, which I think is a great sign. You know it's ready when you pull your finger across the back of the spatula and the curd doesn't come back together. I even waited a few seconds and definitely perfect. To the left, I have the colored curd, and to the right, I have the non-colored curd, yellow. Wow, this smells so zesty and refreshing. I get this into an easy pour container to keep aside and cover with plastic and let chill out in the fridge while I make the crust. Each recipe yields about 4 cups of curd. It already starts to firm up even at room temperature. Again, covering with plastic. Tip: if you don't want to use the citrus the day of making, store in an airtight container in the refrigerator for 2 weeks and in the freezer for up to 2 months, thawing on a countertop until it's room temperature. So now we're gonna get that homemade crust going. Here's my sifted all-purpose flour and salt. Don't use pastry flour, it won't hold up as well. I recommend keeping everything in the pie crust recipe as cold as possible. I love to chill the butter before and after. I use a pastry cutter blender to mix everything together to form lima bean-sized pieces. Lima versus pea sizes makes a huge difference. It's the same process if you'd like to use a food processor. Slowly add ice water 1 tablespoon at a time, mix with the cutter until the dough just comes together. It should be moist but not wet. Place dough onto a very lightly floured surface. Do not overdo it with the flour, it will dry the dough. Flatten into a disc with the heel of your hand. I really like using the silicone mat that I found at a restaurant supply store. DM me if you're in the Seattle area and I'll let you know which one I go to. This felt like a good size for rolling out, so I stopped at about here. Cover tightly with plastic wrap. I use 2 pieces to make double sure that it doesn't dry out. This gives the dough a chance to relax and rest. This dough will also keep for 3 months in the freezer if you want to stash a disc there. Defrost in the fridge overnight. Time to cook the pie crust. I measure the pie pan because I want to add 2 inches wider than the pie pan to leave room for any folding, fluting, crimping, or design type thing. I needed 2 pie dishes for this birthday project. This amount of dough is perfect for a 9-inch pie, which I believe is pretty standard. On a lightly floured surface, I roll out the dough. The goal is flaky, non-dried crust. I measured to see where I need to go with the pie dough width. I'm at about 8 inches with the disc that just came out of the fridge. The trick to dough not sticking to the surface is rolling a couple of times, then moving. Rolling, then moving. Roll out to about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick. I need a crust that's about 11.5 inches wide. You might notice that I'm touching the edges here and there. That's so I get a better feeling of where it's thicker. Then I can continue rolling out in that specific area. Hopefully that makes sense. There we have it, 11.5 inches. Try not to overthink the perfection of the circle too much. It's a very organic process. I fold the dough for the transfer, but if you're fancy, you can roll the dough over the rolling pin for laying over the pie dish. Here you can see I'm pressing into the bottom edge of the pan so that there are no air pockets when I blind bake or add filling later. Now go for it with the edges if that works for your pie pan. If for some reason dough rips and tears, just use the tiniest amount of water to pinch it back together. Use a fork to perforate the dough to help release air during the baking process. I know this is an extra step, but so the pie crust is foolproof, I cover the dough with plastic wrap and place in the fridge for about an hour. This is one of my favorite tips. Remove the saran wrap. Line the pan with wrinkled parchment paper or foil, non-shiny face down. Press it in a little. Add pie weights. I use beans because 1, they're inexpensive. 2, they work really well. 3, they're easy for me to store in Ziplocs. 4, I always misplace my pie weights, but I never misplace my beans. Refrigerate this crust with weights for 30 minutes to prevent shrinking. Blind bake in the oven for 375 degrees Fahrenheit for 10 to 12 minutes. I cook on a baking tray for the most even heat distribution. Then remove from the oven and remove parchment and beans. So carefully because it's hot. LOL. If you have a crust ring, I've heard these work great. I've bought 2 in the past and they're always way too big for my pies, and the pie crust that you're seeing is made using no crust cover. Then bake the crust for another 10 to 15 minutes or until it's lightly golden tan. When the pie crust is totally cool, it's time to add the curd. The center is nice and flat and the edges are golden. I made 2 pies for my family because it's just that good. This part is easy. I like to flatten and smooth it out with my angled spatula or spoon. So set aside and let it get to room temperature. I love to top the pie with a little Swiss meringue. I even keep some on the side in case anyone wants more. Tip, make sure the heat-proof bowl is completely grease-free. I use alcohol, but use vinegar if my friends don't drink. Pre-mix the granulated sugar and egg whites. This gives me a head start when placing over the double boiler technique. Similar to the curd, simmer about an inch of water and then place the heat-proof bowl on top. By the way, the recipe is in the description below. Constantly stir this sugar egg mixture with your grease-free whisk until there are no more granules. This takes about 5 minutes. When I start to see bubbles along the edges, I just check with my fingers and see if there are no more granules. Another signal this is close to done is the mixture becomes more opaque. Transfer the mixture to the mixing bowl. Stops the cooking process. Now whisk on medium for a minute until you have foam. When the mixture looks slightly foamy like this, add cream of tartar. This process takes about 5 minutes for stiff peaks, but can take a little longer depending on the temperature of my home. Feel the side of the stand mixer. Is it cool? Perfect. It's a good time to check. Ta-da! Here we go, tasty meringue. Light, delish, and subtly sweet. Here's what the stiff peaks look like. Now it's time to decorate. Here is option 1, the classic. I start here because this is usually what people think of when they think of a classic lemon meringue pie. Same as before, I pour the room temperature curd and use an angled spatula or spoon to flatten and even it out. Add a generous and heaping amount of Swiss meringue to your pie. Tip, to prevent weeping, you want to make sure that your pie is room temperature when you add the room temperature meringue. I like to wait until serving to toast, but this is going directly from camera to birthday guy. I'll share him slicing it later on. I left my creme brulee torch upstairs, so I use this that I have down here. I just follow the texture of the meringue. This is option 2, pie with flair, AKA daisy pie. I use curd and meringue for the decorating. In one piping bag, I have meringue and a petal piping tip. In the other bag, I have curd and a round piping tip. This will serve as the center of my daisy. I use a cake turntable for the execution of this decoration. For each flower, I start with the petals. For symmetry, I make one petal, then I rotate 180 degrees and create the second petal. These are my grounding petals. Then I fill in with the other petals. The piping tip should be round side out and pointy side in. Then I fill in with the other petals. Once I've got the petals all done, I add the yellow curd dot. The curd is a leftover from the other pie. Here's another slow close-up of the detailed piping. By the way, make sure to like this video to wish Matt an extra happy birthday. When it came to piping the rest of the flowers, I didn't worry about them being exactly the same size because this was my first attempt decorating a pie like this. Originally, I was thinking about making clouds of meringue, but it didn't make that much sense. I made a few partial flowers on the edges to kind of complete the quote-unquote picture. And there we have it. How do you like it? And are there any other pies you'd like to see in the future? I do have a key lime pie coming. Pink lemon meringue tart success. Look at that, no weeping between the meringue and curd. This is my first time using pink lemon for a pie. It's smooth, bright, tart, and delicious like my classic lemon curd. It pairs perfect with meringue. The sweet and tart really balance. The crust completely holds when slicing. It's so flaky, it's not soggy at all. The curd is actually sweeter and more floral than the traditional one. All in all, it still tastes amazing, luscious, and refreshing. So would I use these again? Well, I'm not sure they're worth the trouble, but I did send my mom some seeds and she's gonna propagate, grow them, and send them to me. So I think I will be. Thanks, Mom.
Make a wish. Yay! Happy birthday! It's really deep. I should have done it every day.
Oh, it's amazing, isn't it? I can't believe it all came out in one piece.
Yeah.
That's legit. No pie cutter, no nothing.
Nothing.
Should I try it?
You try it, try it.
Pure meringue.
Is it citrusy?
Better than my mom's.
Mmm.
It's the best.
Thanks, babe.
Super citrusy.
Happy birthday.
It's delicious, thank you.
Whoa, MG. Here is the unboxing of the Eureka Lemons. They're packaged really well. Unfortunately, even though I used these right away, some of them were bad. The company was nice enough to replace the bad ones, which is awesome. Happy birthday to the love of my life. You make everything better because you're the zest. Get it? Thanks so much for joining me. Hit that bell notification for the latest videos. Coming up is a dessert playlist with more delicious videos. Bam! That's the wrap. See you soon.